Okay, this is our demonstration video for our lettering exercise. You'll need two handouts with you, your title block, guidebook title block, and your lettering exercise. First, we'll begin by light lining in our title block. For every exercise we do, we're going to start working in a 4H pencil, making light lines approximately where we need them so that when we darken them in, they're exactly where we need them. The way we'll start with making the 1/2 inch margins around the edge of the page. And we'll do this by using our T-square, a triangle, which in this is giving it doesn't matter which triangle you use because the purpose of the triangle at this point is just to give us that perfect vertical edge to work off of. So we'll start with the regular ruler, the part that has the 16 on it, of our architect's scale. And we'll lay it out and use it to mark 1/2 inch from the paper's edge on the left and right, and on the top and bottom of our page. Once we have those marks, you'll notice we're not going to draw any lines against our scale. We never line against our scale. What we do instead is use our T-square to draw in our horizontal lines. And if we want to make sure we're right on that dot, we can place our pencil on the dot and bring our edge to our pencil. And we'll do the same thing up here. It doesn't matter if my line is slightly doubled or exactly where it extends, because when we darken it in, we'll darken it in exactly where we need it. And then when we do our horizontals, we use the edge of our triangle. Next, we'll draw the boxes in at the bottom of the page, which are 3/4 of an inch high. So we'll measure up. And I notice that I'm bracing against my triangle to make sure that I get a perfect vertical to measure against. And I'll go up 3/4 of an inch. My boxes at the bottom, the ones right here, are 3 inches, 2 1/4, and 2 1/4. So I'll measure over 3 inches and 2 1/4, and that will leave me another 2 1/4. And then these all vertical down. I'm not going to darken this now. I'm going to go from here straight into my lettering exercise. Now on my lettering exercise, I have 2 sizes of letters. I have 1/4 inch letters and 1/8 inch letters. The first thing you'll notice is that I have another margin in here. I'm leaving about another 1/2 inch open so that my lettering is not running into my border. That helps differentiate. So we're actually going to make another set of light lines that run another 1/2 inch in to make sure that I'm leaving that nice border to the left and right. These are going to be very light because they're not going to end up getting darkened. They're just there to make sure my letters don't run too far over. Then I'm going to create the guidelines to draw my actual letters. So this is 1/4 inch high, and I want it to be 1/2 inch from the top to start. So I'm going to give myself a 1/2 inch of space. I apologize if my head's creeping in there. I'm trying really hard to keep it out. And I'm going to put in a light line. Now, I'm going to start using my lettering guide to help me make guidelines. This little crazy twirly thing can help you make any size guideline that you need. But fortunately for us, since most people are working in 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch lettering, that's exactly what these are. Each of these little holes is spaced 1/8 inch apart, which means that if I want to leave 1/4 inch of space for my lettering, I can just leave 2 holes. Now we're going to ideally run this across the bottom of our bar, but right now I'm going to run it across the top because I don't have space to do it on the bottom. And I am going to line it up so that my first line is running through there. And then when I put my pencil 2 down and put it right through that hole, and I run this back against my T-square, I'm going to have 1/4 inch of space. And since I want to leave a nice 1/4 inch open there, I'm going to do the same thing coming back and leave another 1/4 inch of space. Now I'm going to start my ones here, and you can see right now I only have 1/8 inch open. So for my next one, I'm going to leave 1/4 inch of space for my first line, then 1/8 inch space for the opening, and then 1/4 inch of space for my next line, and then 1/8 inch for the opening, 1/4 going back this way, 1/8 coming forward this way, 1/4 going back that way. And we can see that I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 lines. You may need more, so I would start with setting up your quarters and then do your 1/4 inch lettering and then do your 1/8. So the way we're going to move down is we're just going to slide down and line up that top one so I can see it through the circle, and then I can keep going with my 1/8 going back, 1/4 going this way. Oh, see, that one didn't come out, so I'm going to erase it. So here's an example of how to use your eraser shield. Now I happen to be working with a electric eraser right now because it messes with my camera when I use my regular eraser, but you can use a regular eraser. But you can see I'm blocking out the lines I want to keep so that I can just erase the lines I don't want. my brush to get rid of all those shavings. And I'll put in. And then I can just line this back up again. And continue with my lines. Now it's time for me to actually start lettering. When you get to the actual lettering part, you can use either your lettering guide or a small triangle. Either one of them will work because the lettering guide specific tool is just there to make it easier for us to do lines. When we're doing our lettering, we just want to have an edge so that we have something to make the verticals in our letters perfectly straight. You will find that some of you have excellent fine motor skills and can do perfect straight edges. I'm not one of those people, but one thing that I can control is making perfect verticals, and that will help bring my lettering into line, and that is what I ask of you as well. So for your exercise, you're going to actually copy the text that's in your lettering exercise. So we'll start by titling it Lettering Exercise. And in general, as it shows in the little YouTube video that we watched Doug Patz do, you want a letter below your line. For me to be able to get it in the frame, I actually have a light that blocks my T-square from going all the way up. So I'm going to do my first couple above and then switch to below. So you will either use the straight edge of your lettering guide or your triangle, and I'll demo both, to go L, E, T, T, E, R, I, N, G, X, E, R, C, I, S, E. Now right away, I made a mistake. We want at this point to switch to a darker pencil. Eventually, you'll be able to letter in an HB. I suggest for your first one, you start in a 2H. We want our lettering to be somewhere in between. It needs to be bold enough to be read, but not so bold that it smears. And that's going to depend on your hand. So I'm going to suggest that you do your first exercise. All your guidelines will definitely be 4H. I suggest you start with your lettering in 2H, and then for your third page, because you're going to do this 3 times, you move to that HB pencil. Lettering is the one thing we don't guide out and then darken over because it's too difficult to get it perfectly the second time. So I'm going to transition over to a nice sharp 2H pencil. So some of the things you noticed, or you may have noticed watching me. My verticals are perfect, but my horizontals have a slight slant. How much slant you use is going to be your own personal style. I like to do a little bit because perfect verticals tend to denote actual construction lines, so my slight slant brings it into being architectural lettering. So I'm going to skip a page and then start with my A's. And now I can work below. And the reason why I want to work below is because I'm leaving a lot of graphite on my page as I'm doing my lettering, and now my T-square is going to protect that graphite. I have a tendency to drag my finger and pick up graphite on my hand, so this is a nice way for me to protect and keep my lettering looking nice. Now another thing you can see, while my lettering is the same height, it's quite a bit wider. So this is why you're probably going to need more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines to do your sheet. So when we're forming the individual letters, you're going to have to freehand your A's, but your B will have a nice vertical. And you can see my lettering's not perfect. I'm not expecting perfection. I am expecting perfect verticals because everyone can control that. E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M's, just need to go part way down, N, I suggest making the verticals first, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. No little lines on our Z's. That P and Q could have been closer together. Don't erase. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Quarter-inch letters are very difficult to do perfectly, which is why we do a lot of eighth. So just try to improve each time. Now in this case, I'm all the way at the end, so I'm going to run my numbers down here, and then you can go ahead and just start your next alphabet and run them around. I don't need to do double the number of lines. However, if you can't fit, you're going to copy all of this text, and if you can't fit it on a page, you may have to run over to a second page, and that second page will also need a title block. When we get down to where you're going to do the 8-inch lettering, you'll come down and use your lettering guide. And your 1/8-inch letters are very easy to guide. Switching to a 4H pencil. You do have to have that lettering guide facing straight up or your pencil won't be able to go through the holes. And then we're going to just do every single line. And if something doesn't come out quite perfect, don't worry about it. Just get out your shield, erase it, and do it again. For your lettering, don't go nutty erasing, just get it right the next time. Like I said, some of you will find this to be the easiest thing you've ever done in your entire life, and some of you are going to find it incredibly frustrating. Part of what we're practicing in this is getting used to using our tools, getting used to using our different pencils and erasers, and starting to train our hands. But if you try to shortcut and say, line in your title block with a heavy line the first time, smear, 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 smear every time you go across. This is why we want to build it nicely. And then we come back. And the small letters are so much easier to do. And I'll work with the triangle this time. You can tell from the condition of my triangle, I like working with the triangle. And I'm going to switch to 2H. Haha. Make sure it's sharp. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. And just continue to write. You've got some words down here that you're going to do as well.